So I was going through your profile. You have worked in
Sure,
some roles, database administrator, consultant, and then I saw that you worked as a CTO at Cash to Crypto. Can you talk a bit more about it and how did you get into crypto? And
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my time at Cash to Crypto, that's a company that started by a couple of friends of mine. Kind of how I stumbled into it was during the pandemic. I just felt kind of cramped being in my home all the time, like kind of everyone else probably did. And then one of my friends said, hey, we're doing this crypto startup, which their core product was Bitcoin ATMs.
The regulations around crypto keep changing.
Yeah.
Like in India, it's banned, and that happened like a year or so ago. It got banned. So like when you start a company in that area, like what do you imagine the government would do in the country in the future?
From crypto chaos to AI super productivity, CTO Humeniuk shares his journey from the early days of Canadian crypto, where regulators weren't ready for the wave, to harnessing advanced AI that lets him refactor entire backends in hours and price projects with confidence. Now, he's tackling restaurant marketing with What's the Deal, a platform using geofenced offers to drive customers the moment they walk by. That's just the beginning. Let's get into the conversation.
I'm good. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good, how are you? My name's Humeniuk. I'm the CTO of What's the Deal. We're a small startup out of Edmonton, Alberta, where we built this platform to help small and medium-sized restaurants promote their happy hour deals and other content that they would like people to get in touch with in order to drive business into their restaurants. And that's kind of what I'm working on in terms of...
So I was going through your profile. You have worked in some roles, database administrator, consultant, and then I saw that you worked as a CTO at Cash to Crypto. Can you talk a bit more about it and how did you get into crypto? And and why did you switch after that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my time at Cash to Crypto, that's a company that was started by a couple of friends of mine. Kind of how I stumbled into it was during the pandemic. I just felt kind of cramped being in my home all the time, like kind of everyone else probably did. And then one of my friends said, hey, we're doing this crypto startup, which their core product was Bitcoin ATMs. So I don't know if you've heard of this concept, but there's like a white label business that configures and sells the software on these ATMs. You get like a open source server and the actual ATMs. You purchase them and then you place them at different locations, and you can go into the location, put cash in the machine, and then transfer Bitcoin or Ethereum to your crypto wallet. So that's what they started with. And then they brought me on board to help build an online platform where where the platform was meant to help people do like recurring investments. So like it would connect to their bank account, and then every month would take out, however much money, $100 that they wanted out of their checking. And then it would convert it into crypto and do, it had an algorithm to diversify the portfolio. And so it transfer it into their crypto wallet. It was non-custodial. So it was kind of all in transit sort of thing.
Connect their wallet so they can go to the ATM and buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. And you guys were limited to just Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Yeah, the ATMs that we had in the fleet, you didn't connect your wallet to the ATMs. It had a built-in camera because it also had KYC, so it would scan your ID and that sort of thing. If it was over a certain amount, it had to comply with Canada's regulations at the time. Then it would use the same camera module to scan the wallet QR, and then it would know where to transfer.
What kind of regulation / documentation you guys have to go through to start a crypto company?
At the time that they started the business, they had to be FinTrack compliant. I don't quite remember all the details on that, but basically it's this government body, federal regulation body that sets out a set of rules so that organizations in the country can't commit fraud or launder money or provide money to terrorism, that sort of thing. And so every month we'd have to give them a report, or we would have sort of a third party that we hired.
The regulations around crypto keep changing. Yeah. Like in India, it's banned, and that happened like a year or so ago. It got banned. So like when you start a company in that area, what do you imagine the government would do in the country in the future?
It got harder as the years went on, right? I was with them for 2 years, and at the start it was not bad, but then sort of during the pandemic and all the lockdown stuff, crypto really took off. There's lots of speculation markets and all these technologies and things like that came out. And then the government, I think, just was not prepared to handle such a large shift in technology that can also be the source of a lot of scams, right? Like if you've seen the reports about how much in like generational wealth has been lost to crypto scams is pretty incredible. In Canada alone, like billions of dollars. So I think their approach was just to shut it down because we don't have the resources to figure this out properly. And then one of the most crypto-friendly places in the world is Dubai, right? They kind of let everyone deal with crypto. They seem very advanced in how they roll out.
The company that you joined after this was Berkeley Street Capital, and that was also with finance, right? Like you were doing finance at one point.
It was actually started by the same people, and I kind of helped spin it up as well. And what had happened was other partners that they wanted to start a business with kind of in parallel to the cash to crypto. And that business is around investments. So people would provide large sums of money to go into this pot where there's an algorithm that was developed to trade crypto on the market and make hedging bets and just like multiply returns like crazy. That business, I think they sold off a portion of the cash crypto business to a private investor, but the Berkeley Street Capital is the main thing they're doing now. And by the sounds of it, they're doing pretty well.
And after that, you were consulting in a company, and then you started your own consulting company. So how did you decide to go independent, and what kind of consulting were you doing?
Yeah, well, before all the crypto stuff, I had about 5 or 6 years of experience in integration consulting specifically, and in the enterprise. So like quite large businesses, large projects. And then when I went into the startup scene, I took a break from that. And then I was leaving the startup scene just to go back to something more familiar and kind of get a break from all the stress of a startup. So I just went back to something familiar, and that consulting was something that I'd done for a lot of years. And it was it's a small company that was based out of the Toronto area. Called Plecton Labs. That's a good company. Wahid is the owner of that, and he's running a good business there. And then the reason I jumped into my own consulting and being my own business owner is I felt like I kind of had done consulting in a large scale for so long. I identified a gap in the startup market / like medium-sized businesses where maybe the consulting services offered in those markets were not up to par, or like I heard so many stories that people were being left high and dry, or they didn't get anything out of all the money they spent on these software that were developed. And yeah, I just thought I could make my mark in that area. So far, it's going well. Well, yeah, we can transition into that. Like the way I do the pricing for the business is, or the way I prefer to do the pricing for the business is that I would like to do like a fixed bid pricing, where it's just like, hey, you're hiring me for full-time for 3 months. This is what it costs, flat rate, no surprises, nothing like that. And the reason I can do that is because, and take on large projects, is because of the AI tools that are available. Yeah, I mean, I can describe like the couple of tools that I've had experience with and am using now, if you want to get into that. Yeah, so I started, I think the first tool, well, with like any software developer, probably the first AI tool would have been Copilot that was offered through GitHub, and then it only had the GPT models available. Those are pretty good to start. That was a few years ago now, obviously, and then everything has evolved into not just these Copilot tools, but like agentic tools that really just do a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes. The first AI native editor I used was Windsurf. Familiar with that one? I think probably most of the industry prefers Cursor. I never used that, but now I've moved on to Claude Code on the Max subscription, which is about $140 a month. So, but it makes me so productive. Like,
add more details in there. So the tools that Lee's talking about are coding focused.
Sure, yeah.
So Claude Code, with Claude Code, you can run it in the background as well. So it's like an async coding agent. And then you have Cursor and Windsurf. That's like within the IDE, you have like a chat window on the side, and you can use the agentic mode in there as well. So, and GitHub Copilot is pretty similar as well. So these are tools that you can use to help you out with coding.
Yeah, so I can describe like how I use each of the tools and in what use case, I guess. So if I'm using an IDE, like VS Code or IntelliJ, I use the Copilot plugin, and I'll typically use GPT like 4.1 or something, whatever the latest model is. But really when I'm using that tool, it's for small pieces of refactoring or code scaffolding. Even though it does have an agent mode, like now they have like agent and edit and ask and things like that. I find that either I don't understand how to set it up for like a large scale refactor, but I like to, because it's kind of just in there right beside your code. You're just like, hey, highlight this piece of code and just make this change, or like do something kind of small and digestible like that. And then the way I'm using Claude Code, which is a CLI application that has a ton of advanced features, but the simple way I'm using it now is it has an initialization command that will scan your project up to like 3 levels deep or something, and then it will create the Claude .md file, which is the markup, basically contextual prompt file it generates for you. And then every time you go back to the project, it understands what the code base is about. And it's my understanding that behind the scenes in that tool, it basically takes it determines if you are asking for sort of a large complex task, and then it goes into a planning mode, and then it determines if it needs to like defer to a different model, or if it needs to create a to-do list just to chop things up into digestible pieces. So that's how I'm doing it. Actually, I've been able to do like 25% refactor of the what's the deal backend by using Claude Code over like 6 hours. Like it's pretty reorganized, the whole architecture. You can chat with it to get best practices, that sort of thing. And then it seems to, if you include in your prompt, every time you write like a service or something like that,
and
include a test with it, and then it just automatically knows to do it. So it's very useful. So with that tool in particular, I mean, as a general practice, even when I'm developing on my own, if I'm writing more than a few lines of code or like a small configuration change, I'm probably going to put it in a branch and then push up a PR just to have that visual aspect. It's just nice to read in GitHub. But in terms of Claude Code, I don't let it just like edit and continue. It stops every time it goes to edit, and it shows me the diff of what it's going to do, and I read it for the most part just to make sure it's not doing something weird.
Have checkpoints, because sometimes these tools, like they write like perfect code. It's good till like one point, and the next iteration it does, it's like messes up all the other code. So it's good to like have checkpoints as well. But yeah, and what other tools do you use other than the coding tools?
In terms of AI-based tools, I don't think I've really leveraged. I mean, I have Claude Desktop that I'd use just for everyday research. I find that the Anthropic tools are pretty good for everyday and code use. Just have the actual desktop app, and then I have it on my phone, and I'll just be, in the Uber and researching something that pops in my head, and then it's there for later when I go get back to coding. I was actually going to look at the new one that Google came out with called Stitch, which is in beta right now, so it's free, and it allows you to design, or it will generate really comprehensive UIs for web and mobile using natural language. Yeah, so I'm excited to try that one out. And you can even upload images of like samples you might have, and then say like iterate off of this sample and make it
check it out then.
Look different or better.
What about any workflow tools? Have you explored any of them, like N8N, Make?
No, I haven't used those. I have some contacts that are not developers, that are more just like savvy business people who've used things like Replit and Make and stuff like that, and they find it quite useful. But they do say, like, they'll send the whatever it built for them to me, and I can check it out, and they'll say like, I don't know how to get past this, and every time I try to like get to the next level, it either breaks or it can't do it or something like that. So we're not quite at the point, it seems, where I'm useless. People still need input of experience, I suppose.
Let's get into what's the deal. So how did you decide to start this company? What I understand till now is it's a two-sided marketplace. So if you can explain a bit more, and how you're getting the two sides on the platform.
Right. So the way it started was, I think my business partner started it in 2019, something like that. They are a brother-sister duo named Kate and Leo out of Sherwood Park, Alberta, just outside of Edmonton. And I'm not very good at like the business pitch, but I'll just explain kind of how they got to it. So basically everyone would go to Kate and say, hey, you're in the restaurant industry, like what are the deals, what's happening here and there? And then they came up with the idea to have almost like more of a directory of happy hour deals and promotional content and stuff like that. And it's funny that they had this idea, because I've heard of a lot of other people talk about this over the years, but they're the only people to actually execute on a business plan. So I met them in 2022, and they the previous technical person didn't work out. So I came in and assessed the state of things and figured that I had to just do a complete redesign of the platform and then get it on the App Store. And so fast forward a few years later, we're on Android and iOS, our version 3. We're doing some beta testing right now in production, but it's looking pretty good. And the way that the platform works is, so if you're a restaurant and you are kind of tired of having to continuously post on Instagram, which is something we hear a lot from the community, where they're like, I just want to run my restaurant. I don't want to have to post my food every day and like know how to tag it properly and all these things. Then you would use our platform, upload your happy hour menu or whatever content you want to promote, even just like a one-off event is good. And then we will, the job of the platform is to take the content and promote it through a bunch of different channels. On the other side of that are the users. They come onto the platform, they're able to search, receive push notifications on things that are of interest to them, sort of typical marketplace SaaS stuff. But the one cool thing we've implemented so far is geofencing. And so if some sort of exclusive offer is currently happening or about to happen at a restaurant and you happen to walk by and go through the geofence, you'll receive a push notification. And hopefully that will drive a conversion into the restaurant.
I think it would be useful
so we're pretty
to
excited
also
about that
like
feature.
identify the customers. Like in the restaurant industry, the customers that keep coming back, you want to make sure like more of those customers exist. So if you have a way to identify them and send them deals, personalized deals, it'll be useful there too. And the restaurant industry seems very diverse though. Okay. Like how do you get all those restaurants on your platform? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, it's a two-sided marketplace. So you have something called the cold start problem where you kind of need both sides of the coin to do anything really. So our initial seeding strategy, well, I guess I should mention one of the features of the platform. Actually, when you onboard for the first time and you create a location, so your restaurant, we actually have a feature where you, instead of manually filling out everything, we're able to search and narrow down a list of locations in an area based on Google Places, Google Maps API. So you enter the postal code, it brings up a bunch of locations in that area, and then you click on the one that's yours, and then it will import all of that information into the form, and then you just check it out, and if it looks good, you submit it, and then you claim that location. And it actually ports in quite a lot of info, so like the restaurant name, the address, our model for like the availability, like the restaurant hours, open, closed. It actually I just copied it from what Google Places does, so that it imports very nicely. And it has a couple of tags for like accessibility and patio and stuff like that. And so what we're doing is we have just like an administrative side of things where we'll go in and basically just manually seed Edmonton. For example, like we probably have a couple hundred, I don't know if we're at over 100 or maybe 200 restaurants there where we're just manually seeding. You could automate that part of like importing all the data. The really tricky part is actually the images. And so we found that importing the Google Place images are like a little bit unreliable in the quality and part of our onboarding packages will actually come take photos of your restaurant and any of your content that you want to post as well. So we're carving out a little niche for ourselves there.
So anybody could go and claim a restaurant on the application? How do you verify it's the owner?
You could. The simplest way we're doing it right now is we're switching. Originally, we had the business owner, when they sign up, when they onboard, it's a subscription-based model. Originally, there was a free version that allowed for like one location and a couple of deals. And then there was a paid version that was $30 a month that allowed for just more, right? Now we're actually switching to just a base model that we're calling the verified model, which is just $10 a month. So you can go on there and technically you could just like claim a bunch. There's a limit. So the $10 only gets you, I think we're setting it at 5 locations. And if you contact us, and we know you from the community or just relationship management, we can just increase that limit if we know that you're legitimate. In the future, we will probably do some sort of SMS verification or something like that.
What about the social media posts?
Yeah.
Are you guys doing that too?
Yeah, so if you go to the What's the Deal YEG Instagram page, I think we hit the 10,000 follower mark, which was pretty exciting for us. And we, besides the platform, we offer social media campaign packages where we go and take photos of your food, that type of thing. And then we'll actually do the social media management promoting through our profile. And so we have that whole side of it. And we're happy to, one of the other features in the platform is that your content and your location will have a shareable link. So if you do want to continue to make your own posts or something like that, you can always copy the link into your post.
So the advantage that the restaurant owners have is they would get more customers, and the customers are getting the advantage of getting deals to go to those restaurants.
Right. So the ideal way that the restaurant would leverage the platform in terms of attracting people is to only be advertising that content there. I mean, that to justify paying for something, right? If you're also going to like put it on every social media site, then the analytics that we provide probably aren't going to show any conversions, right? So it's kind of just like a purpose-made model for hospitality promotional content. And then, yeah, everything from like the geofenced conversions to clicks and impressions, typical SaaS product stuff. We provide those analytics back to the restaurants. They actually have a dashboard to view it. Once we get enough traffic and enough saturation, we'll be able to provide probably some pretty cool like aggregated metrics in terms of maybe like what similar locations are doing, or tell them what kind of demographics are showing up to the restaurants.
When you guys scale, do you have plans of adding a recommendation engine in the background? For example, I love Thai cuisine, so I would love to get deals from Thai restaurants.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely in the pipeline of things to build. It would probably come up pretty quickly, actually. I had to just redesign how search works. So we're using MongoDB for search. MongoDB Atlas full text search is what it runs on. And then we also, as like a preemptive, I've been generating text embeddings for all of the locations and content so that we can leverage their vector database to build the recommendation engine around interests or
semantic
places near them, all that stuff. Right. So it'd be a combination, right? So you can almost have like more of a, I guess like an agentic thing built in to say, hey, these are the search criteria. If you don't find anything reliable through one, route of the search, use the semantic and then combine the results. It can be a way of
semantic. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Any other plans in the future of using AI, or like currently as well? Like, how are you using these coding tools for design? Are you using it for design as well?
Like for visual design, you mean? I don't think we used it for visual design. No, we haven't. I'll say that stitch tool I mentioned earlier. We are planning on doing some iterations over the UI for that. But basically, everything is in Figma. It's based off of, I don't know, they have like different packages you can download with like templates and stuff like that, right? So my business partner Leo was the main driver.
What I'm hearing is these tools are getting better in terms of design.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always play around with that.
Mm-hmm.
And any plans? Yeah, I added that in my last question as well. Like any plans in the future of like including AI within the product as a feature? It
was interesting because we talked to investors maybe a year ago or a little bit less. And that's, we're in the time of all they wanted to hear about was like, are you going to use AI type thing? And we didn't really have a use case for it because I'm the only technical person. So I can't just like build these tools and build the feature. I kind of have to wait until the tools catch up for us to be able to use them. But now we can, a lot of the tools and the SDKs are very reliable to integrate AI in a reliable way into the platform, as opposed to just like a nice to have. It could drive an actual feature. And so one of the things we would like to do is even just an import, some sort of automation to actually parse out the content into what our backend model is just from an image. So a lot of the times with restaurants, if you go to their sites and they're not like a large corporation, it's just like a small local business, on their website, which is typically WordPress, they will have a link to like a happy hour menu, but it's really just, it links up to a PDF that like a graphic designer produced for them or something like that, right? And so being able to either scan an actual like URL that for their menu or happy hour deals, or interact with a PDF and capture all of the information and then display it in our format would be a really good use case for some of these AI tools.
Agreed with that. Yeah, this has been really useful.
Right.
Do you want to tell the audience how to connect with you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the best way is probably to find me on LinkedIn, Humeniuk on LinkedIn, and I also do have a website for my consulting business. You can email me at lee@q1.io. And hopefully
I'll add it
we
in
can
the description.
potentially share it in the
Thank you.
caption or something like that. It'd be probably better through a link. Okay, thank you. Yeah.